right, it's the 8th of December 2023, and today we're spending time with Global InfoAnalytics. We've been with him for some time now as he's been guiding us through what he collects in the field as far as polls are concerned and the various elections, regarding political parties, are all concerned. We have actually, I think, achieved quite some success rates as far as the polls of Global InfoAnalytics are concerned. And so we're continuing with him with some more polls that he's been collecting. The latest ones have to do with Zongo communities and the northern, territories of the country. As far as we're concerned, we know that it's been quite a debate, especially between the two political parties, the MPP, the NDC, the two leading ones, and how both parties think they have a stronger hold on these areas. So he's conducted some polls this week. They came out this week, and we're spending today with him to go through these polls. So, Mr. MUSSA DANKWAH, you're welcome. Good afternoon to you. Right, we're going to go through that, but before I come to you, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll start going through the slides. All right, you're welcome back to the program. It's Good Afternoon, Ghana, and we're spending time with Mr. MUSSA DANKWAH, who is the Executive Director for Global InfoAnalytics, and he's been the direct person that we have all the interactions with once the polls that are conducted are out. You're welcome once again. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Annie.
Right, so today we have two areas to deal with. We have the northern part, and then we have the Zongo communities, and they cover national.
Yes,
okay, tell us about
what we did was we covered all the 18 constituencies in the northern region, for the northern region perspective of what the race looks like. And then we looked at the constituencies in this country that has a lot of Zongo communities in it. Okay. We sampled them. So in Accra, we sampled Medina. We sampled Ayawaso East, that's the Nima areas. Ayawaso North, that's the Newtown, pig farm areas. We sampled Ayawaso Central, Alajo and that part. We also sampled Ashaiman constituency. We sampled Asawasi constituency. So about 7 constituencies that have a number of, or a good number of Zongo communities in it. We sampled them. So this gives us a broader view of what the Zongos people are thinking in terms of 2024 elections. So from here, we'll see whether these big areas of NDC stronghold is shaking or MPP is not able to make inroads into them. So it gives us a fair view of what's happening there.
Okay.
So we will start with the northern region.
Okay.
Now, we'll look at the methodology and our approach.
This post came out on 4th of December.
Yes, that's when the report came out.
Okay.
So we interviewed 1,538 voters in the northern region with a confidence level of 99% and a margin of error of 3.19%. We sampled 18 constituencies and assigned these 1,538, those 18 constituencies. The field work were conducted between 20th November and 30th November. Now, these are the samples that were assigned to all the constituencies in the northern region based on the number of voters who will live in those constituencies. So the highest number of interviews went to Tamale South. Then we have Tamale Central, Bimbila, Yendi, Sanlarigu, Gushegu, Tolong, Karaga, Savilugu, Bandai, Kumbungu, Tamale North, Wulensi, Mion, Zabzugu, Saboba, Tatale, Sanguli, and Nanton, in that order.
Now, so those ones, just to be clear, they represent the areas we conducted.
Yes, the constituencies.
The constituencies we conducted the polls in.
In okay. All the 18 that we have in each northern region.
Okay.
We didn't leave any out. We covered every constituency in the region.
Okay.
With a sample. Now we're going to focus on certain demography because that informs the data better. So we're looking at religion of the voters we interviewed, the demography of the voters on a religious basis. Islam is 77%. So it is predominantly Muslim voting population. Christians, 21%. Traditional religion, 2%. So this is the demography of Northern region voters. It's very important because it tells you the other religious angle as well. So let's see. Ethnicity, Mawli Dagbani, 63%. Other religions or other tribes, 15%. Akan 7%, the Ewes 4%, Gruma 4%, and the rest are spread in that order. So you can see that it's predominantly Mawli Dagbani region, with other ethnic groups coming second. In terms of party affiliation, MPP is dominant, 38% in the sample. NDC, 31%. Floating voters, 27%. Not disclosing people, 3%. And other parties, 1%. Now, when we ask them whether the country is headed in the right direction or wrong direction, 58% of them said wrong direction. 34% said right direction, and 8% said they have no opinion. So overwhelmingly, voters in the Northern region believe that Ghana is headed in the wrong direction. When we ask them about the approval of the president, 58% said they approve of his performance. 58 disapprove of his performance. 36 approve of his performance. And 6% have no opinion. Again, you can see a constant pattern between disapproval of the president and the wrong direction of the country. Those are very key in seeing what's going to happen in the race. When we asked them about their standard of living in the last 12 months, 49% of them said it's gotten worse. Their standard of living has gotten worse in the Northern region. 31% said it has improved. 15% said it's unchanged, and 6% did not have opinion. When we asked them whether they are optimistic that things will improve in the next 12 months, those who said yes is 39%. Those who said no is 23%. Not sure, 38%. So people are really, really not sure what's going to happen, or they believe that nothing will happen. It will not improve. Only 39% said it will improve.
So if we're doing some rounding up figures, are we should to add the no's to the not sure?
Technically, you can.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So technically, we can say that about more than 60%.
About 61% said they don't think it will improve or they're not sure.
Unsure. Okay.
Corruption in Ghana, what do they think? 51% said it's getting worse. 28% said it's improving. 15% said no change. And 6% said they have no opinion. So corruption is still showing that it's getting worse. It's not getting better at all in the Northern region. And all these negative polling numbers doesn't augur well for the ruling government. On the fight against corruption, is the government doing enough in the fight? No, 57%. Yes, 33%. No opinion, 10%. Still, problem for the government.
Right.
And we ask them, between politics, religion, and ethnicity, what divide Ghanaians? What do they think we are divided on as a nation? Politics, 64%.
That's a very interesting.
Yes. So
Wow.
it is the politics itself that divides us, not religion, 20%, ethnicity, 17%. This is the view from the Northern region.
Okay.
So they all agree that it is politics that is dividing us, not religion, not ethnicity. And then we ask them, what are their top issues that they would consider when they go to the vote to vote in 2024? What will be their top issues? Here we ask them to give us top 3. And economy, 78% of the items we mentioned is key to them was economic, 78%. Followed by jobs, 70%. Education, 61%. Then corruption, 21%. Nationally, corruption is almost at par with education. But in Northern region, it seems to be lower compared to education. Now, the reason why this is an issue now, or for them, is that they know the free education is given. Now they are showing their dissatisfaction with some of the challenges that is being thrown up by the system, by the educational system. So that is why it's still an issue. Normally, it shouldn't be an issue if it's being resolved. If it remains an issue, it means that there are things that they're not happy with.
It's a place then government must watch, because
Yes.
61% on education, even after free SHS, when you still hear people say, well,
Yes.
free SHS was a good policy for us, it's helped a lot of us, and you have
The
these
but-
results coming.
The
Okay.
but is what is making it still a problem.
Right.
And then we ask them, between GTP, Great Transformational Plan for Alan, DMB's digitization, broad agenda, and Mahama's 24-hour economy, which of those campaign messages or policies would influence them or they like most? ATP, 4%. DMB, digitization, 37%. 24-hour economy, 49%. None of them, 10%. Northern region. So at the moment, 24-hour economy is leading digitization in the Northern region. We asked them about their trust. We know nationally the key issues are the economy, job creation, education, and fight against corruption. So we asked them, which of the following individuals do they believe or have trust to fix the economy, to create jobs, to improve education, and to fight corruption? When you come to fixing the economy, the light green, 55% of people who said fixing the economy is their priority, they trust John Mahama to fix the economy. 37% of them trust Bawumia. 4% trust Alan, and someone else 4%. If you watch, this economic trust is the same as who would you vote for. We'll get there, so take note. And then you have create jobs. 54% support trust Mahama. 38% support or trust Bawumia on jobs. 4% Alan. So it's consistent.
The numbers are the same.
The same, with the exception of this 54%.
For which came down 1%.
Exactly.
And that was creation of jobs.
Jobs.
Okay.
Then when we asked them, if the elections were held today, now we spoke to them, who would they vote for? John Mahama on 55%. Dr. Bawumia on 37%. Alan on 4%. Undecided 3%. The rest were no show. Okay. So this is the current situation in the Northern region with regards to the presidential race.
Okay, so the rest that have no show, we have Hassan there, we have Dr. Samankra, independent, we have Kofi Akpalu. Is he running?
Yes, he's running.
Okay.
Goom.
We have
Andrews is also running.
All right, and then we have someone else. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Now, John Mahama is leading in 12 of the constituencies in the Northern region.
Oh, wow.
Bawumia is leading in 5 of them, and 1 of them is tied. Let's look at the numbers. In Pandai, Mahama is leading in Pandai. In Bimbila, Bawumia is leading in Bimbila. In Wulensi, Mahama is leading in Wulensi. In Zabzugu, Bawumia is leading. In Tatale Sanguli, Mahama is leading. In Yendi, surprisingly, Mahama is leading by a whisker. Yeah. We believe that is an outlier.
Yeah.
And then Mion, Mahama 48%, leading 48%. Saboba, Mahama is leading. In Gushegu, Bawumia is leading in Gushegu. And then if you look at Karaga, Bawumia is leading in Karaga. Savlugu, Mahama is leading in Savlugu. In Nanton, Mahama is leading by slim margin. In Tamale South, Mahama is leading. In Tamale Central, it shows Bawumia leading. That we think is an outlier in the polls. San Larigu, Mahama is leading overwhelmingly, 99%. That is quite huge. Tamale North, Mahama is leading. And then also Tolong is almost square in Tolong, 47-48. And then Kumbungu, Mahama is leading. So Mahama is leading in 12 of the constituencies in the northern region, whereas Bawumia leads in 5. Now, let's look at who has lost ground compared to 2020 elections per this poll. In 2020 elections, Mahama got 53% in northern region. Nana got 46%. 2% went to other candidates. In the polls currently, Mahama on 55%, Bawumia on 37%. So you can see the graph, the chart. Bawumia has dropped compared to Nanado. Then you have others 2%, others 4.7%. This includes Allen as well. So basically, the others include Allen. So Bawumia has dropped at the expense of Allen and Bawumia and Mahama. Mahama got additional 2%, and Allen got 4%. So the votes are realigning. Yeah. So we can say that MPP has lost ground in northern region compared to 2020 election results per the polls we've conducted. Now let's look at the party affiliation of people who are voting in the northern region. When you come to MPP, 6% of them are voting for Green, John Mahama. 87% are voting Blue, Bawumia. 6% are voting for Yellow, Butterfly, Alan Martin. So among MPP, about 13% have dispersed to somewhere else.
Yeah.
When you come to NDC, 94% are voting for Bawumia, Mahama. 4% are voting for Bawumia. The remaining 2% are voting for Alan and other blocks. So NDC has just lost 6% compared to MPP 13%. When it comes to floating voters, which is very, very critical, Mahama is a woman commanding lead. 86% of floating voters in the northern region have chosen Mahama.
Wow.
Bawumia 5%. This will be a problem for Bawumia if it's not able to make inroad here.
Yeah.
And then when you look at the other parties, Alan is getting 39% of them. So the smaller parties in the northern region, they prefer Alan by a huge margin.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
And only 6 are voting for NDC, 17 MPP, and 22% are voting for other candidates as well, and 17 undecided. For those who did not disclose their party affiliation, 40% are voting for Mahama, 35% are voting for Bawumia, and 23 are undecided. Now, let's look at the religious bloc, because this, I've said about 2 years ago, that this election could mirror into religious and other things. Now, let's look at Christians in the northern region. 46% of Christians in the northern region are voting for Mahama. 40% are voting for Dr. Bawumia. When it comes to the Muslims, 58% are voting for Mahama. 36% are voting for Bawumia. Those with traditional religion, 50% for Mahama.
With Muslims?
Muslims, 58% for Mahama, and 36% for Bawumia. So Mahama is winning both the Christians and the Muslims in the northern region.
Wow. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. And those with
traditional
belief, 50 for Mahama, 46 for Bawumia. And those who belong to other religions is 75% for for Bawumia. And for those who have no religion, all of them, Mahama. Now, we looked at how voters voted in 2020 and what they said they will vote in 2024, the voting intention. Again, for those who voted for Ronaldo in 2020, 8% of them have now moved to vote for Mahama, Green. 8% of people in Ronaldo's column are now voting Green, NDC. 82% are voting Blue, Bawumia. 8% are voting Yellow, Butterfly, Alan. So you can see that Bawumia has lost about 18% of Ronaldo's support in the northern region. 8 going to Mahama, 8 going to Alan, and 2 saying that they are undecided.
Right.
When you come to Mahama, he is winning back 95% of the people who went and queued and voted for him.
Okay.
But he's lost 3% of them. They've gone to Bawumia. And 1 have gone to Butterfly. Another 1% said they are undecided. So he has only lost 5%.
So he's lost less.
5%.
Okay.
Bawumia has lost 18%.
18%.
That is where the differences in the race are showing. For those who voted for somebody else in 2020, 13% are voting for Mahama, 13 are voting for Bawumia, 13 are voting for Alan, 38 said someone else, and 25 are undecided. For those who did not vote, which is very important here, this will comprise first-time voters and those who didn't have chance to vote last time.
Yeah.
Mahama is getting 36% of them. Bawumia, 44%. So he has advantage in those who didn't vote and the first-time voters. 3% are voting for Alan, and 17% said they are undecided. So there's a lot more work to be done in the those first-time voters and those who didn't vote. We asked them this critical question: how likely would the religion of the candidate influence your vote? How likely will the religion of the candidates influence your vote? 63% of them said religion is unlikely to influence their vote in 2024 in the Northern region. 37% said religion would influence how they vote. So the question is, if this one would influence positively if you are Bawumia, what is heavily Muslim demographic. For those who said it will influence them, and if they are Muslims, it means Bawumia will get that advantage. And for those who said it won't influence them, it means Mahama will have advantage among those who said it will not influence them. But remember here, we have both Muslims and Christians. Now let's see the breakdown of this demographic with regards to who they intend to vote for. In terms of what they will do. Among the Catholics, 39% of them said that religion is not likely to influence them. Catholics. But 61 said it is unlikely to influence them. When it comes to the Methodists, 69 said it is likely going to influence them. Majority, they will take into account the religion. And that would go against Bawumia. Because he's not a Christian, he's a Muslim. When it comes to Presbyterians in the North, 58% said it will influence them, compared to 42%. So here it will go against him and advantage Mahama, he's a Christian. Anglican, 64% said it will influence them, Anglicans, compared with 36%. Among the Pentecostal, 35 said they will be influenced, compared with 65% who said they won't be influenced. And then the Charismatic, 67% said yes, it will influence them, compared to 33%. And among other Christian groups, 88% said it won't influence them, compared to 13%. So overwhelmingly, except the Catholics and then the others and Pentecostal, every other denomination said the religion of the candidate will influence them. Now, let's look at the Muslims. It is a reality. It will. No. Naturally, you see, people will look for differences in candidates. No, I don't know whether if you followed me last year, 2022, I said from onset that if it's Bawumia and Mahama head to head, religion and ethnicity will play a role. I've said that. And we are seeing that.
That was because of the coming in of Dr. Bawumia?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Now, for the Muslims, the Sunnis, they said that unlikely to influence them, 36%. Sorry, 64%. Unlikely for Shia, 56%. Unlikely for Tijaniya, 76%. Unlikely for Ahmadiyya, 65%. Unlikely for others, 73%. So among the Muslims, overwhelmingly, they are saying that religion of the candidate does not matter to them. Muslims are very resolute. That it's not about your religion.
Okay.
So for them, they don't have issue. The issue is with the Christian bloc.
That's interesting.
Yes. And that ends the Northern region poll.
Wow. How many sites do we have on Zongo poll?
Maybe 10?
Okay, let's go to Zongo poll.
Straight, okay.
And I'll speak on my...
So we now know what is happening in the Northern region.
Right.
Now, some people tend to equate Zongos to Northern region. absolutely different demography.
Yeah.
When you poll Zongo communities, the biggest ethnic groups in Zongo communities will be other ethnic groups. If you poll Northern region, the largest group will be Moi Dagbani. So the differences are very clear. Let's see the methodology we adopted for the Zongo polls. Our sample size was 2,745. Confidence level, 99%. Margin of error, 2.41%. And we sampled Ayawasu East in Greater Accra, Ayawasu North, Greater Accra, Ayawasu Central, Greater Accra, Ablekuma Central, Greater Accra, Madina, Greater Accra, Ashaiman, Greater Accra, Asawasi, Ashanti region. Beside the southern part of the country, the Akan areas and the Ghana and other areas, there's no Zongos in the Northern Territory.
Oh, wow.
Have you ever had a Zongo in Tamale? Zongo in the northern regions before? You don't. The Zongos are in the southern part of the country.
Is it because they moved?
Because the Northerners are not the typical Zongo people that create Zongo.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yes. But the Zongo is a Hausa word.
Okay.
Zangong. So it's a Hausa word.
What does it mean?
A place where maybe...
a settlement.
Settlement.
Okay.
Particularly people. Okay. The interviews were conducted between 23rd November and 28th November 2023. Here we are focusing on the demography. In the Zongo area that we polled, Islam was 59% of the respondents. Christians, 36%. Other, no religion, 3%. Other religions, 1%, and traditional religion, 1%. The ethnic groups, see, other ethnic groups, 38% in the Zongos.
Wow.
Akan, 16%. Ghana Dangbe, 11%. Ewes, 10%. Moi Dagbani, 10%. You see where it is? The Zongos are not typically Moi Dagbani voters. They are voters from other ethnic groups. And then party affiliation, NDC 54% in the Zongos, MPP 20%, floating voters 17%, 8% not disclosing, and other parties 1%. So for NPP to win, they must win a lot of the NDC voters to win in the Zongos. That's what it means. Because here they are disadvantaged. What are the top 3 issues for Zongo voters across the areas we sampled? Economy again, 74%, in that same range, just like the northern region. Jobs, 59%. Education, 51%. Healthcare, 22%.
As follows. So we can say it actually represents a general.
It doesn't change. Either national, regional, the ranking is the same.
Right.
Well, the issues are economy, jobs, education.
Yeah.
The most popular campaign policy in the Zongos is 24-hour economy, 71% support. Digitization, 20%. None of them, 6%. GTP for Alan, 3%. So in the Zongos, overwhelmingly 24%, 24-hour economy is what is flying there right now. When we ask them, who do you trust to fix the economy? In the Zongos, 74% said Mahama. 20% Baumia, 2% Alan Chiramatin. On job creation, 73% Mahama, 20% Baumia, 3% Alan Chiramatin. Improving education, 73% Mahama, 20% Baumia, and 2% Alan. Fighting corruption, 72% Mahama, 19% Baumia, and 3% for Alan Chiramatin. On the big question, if the elections were held today, who would you vote for? In the Zongos, 73% said Mahama, 21% said Baumia, Alam Chiramatin 2.5%, undecided 2.5%, and the rest were just smaller numbers. Now, let's look at those who are voting for Mahama and Baumia. Which parties are they coming from? Among MPP, 18% of MPP voters are voting Green, Mahama. 72% of MPP voters are voting Blue, Bawumia. 6% of MPP voters are voting Butterfly. So Bawumia has again lost about 28% of MPP base in the Zongos. When you come to NDC, 94% of them are voting for their own, Mahama. 5% have crossed carpet to vote for Bawumia, and 1% said they were undecided. So advantage NDC in the Zongos in terms of party affiliation, crossing carpet. Again, floating voters, look at it. 73% of floating voters in Zongo are opting for Mahama. 16% for Bawumia, 5% for Alan Chiramatin. For other smaller parties, 60% of them are voting for Mahama, 20% for Alan Chiramatin, 15% said others, and then 5% undecided. Bawumia didn't get anything from this other party. And then those who are not disclosing, 71% of them are voting for Mahama, 15% for Bawumia, and 6% going to Alan Chiramatin. Now let's look at the constituencies that we polled with the Zongo communities. In Ayawasu East, Nima, Mahama 89%, Bawumia 6%. Ayawasu North, Mahama 81%, Bawumia 17%. Ayawasu Central, Mahama 60%, Bawumia 39%. Ashaiman, Mahama 66%, Bawumia 32%. Asawasi, Mahama 74%, 18% for Bawumia, and 6% for Alan in Asawasi. Medina, Mahama 86%, Bawumia 13%. In Ablekuma Central, Mahama 70%, and Bawumia 26%. Butterfly on 4%. Vote by religion in the Zongos. Among Christians, Mahama is 67% in the Zongos. Among Christians, Bawumia 26%, Alan 4%. Among Muslims in the Zongos, Mahama 76%, Bawumia 20%, Alan 1%. Those with traditional religion, Mahama 72%, 17% for Bawumia, and 6% for Alan Chiramatin. For other religions, 88% for Mahama, 8% for Bawumia. For those who don't have religion, 87% for Mahama, 5% for Bawumia, and 3% for Alan Chiramatin. Now, when it comes to Christian blocks, Catholics, Mahama, 77%. Methodists, Mahama, 56%. Presby, Mahama, 63%. Anglican, 65% for Mahama. Pentecostal, 66% for Mahama in the Zongos Pentecostals. Charismatics, 69% for Mahama. And other Christian blocks, 73%. So across all the religious denominations, Mahama dominates in the Zongos.
So in the Bawumia percentages, he doesn't cross 50% in either of them?
Now, the only place he did slightly better was Methodist, 41%.
Okay.
Followed by Presbyterian Church, 34%. And then Pentecostal, 27%. And then Anglican, 26%. Charismatic, 25%. He did poorly among the Catholics and the other Christian groups.
Right.
And then when it comes to the Muslim sects, the Sunnis, Mahama 75%, Shia 71%, Tijaniya 79%, Ahmadiyya 73%, others 76%. So in 70s column for Mahama in the Muslim sects. This shows that the argument that Bawumia could do well in the Muslim community is absolutely non-existent. Now, let's look at the Zongo's performance compared to 2020 elections. Those who we polled. 61% said last year, or in the last election, they voted for Mahama. 37% said Nanado. 2% said someone else. In the current poll, Mahama 73% is gone up by 12%. MPP has gone down 16% compared to last time in the polls. And then others have gone up. So it means that in the Zongos, compared to last election, MPP has lost ground. Now let's look at the dynamics of people who voted for Nando last time. 34% of voters in the Zongos who killed for Nando in 2020 elections are now voting Green, Mahama. They have switched. 56% are voting for Bawumia. 6 are voting for Alan. So technically, Bawumia has lost 44% of people who went and killed for Nando in 2020 in the current poll. If you look at John Mahama, he gets 94% of people who went for him last time. They are still voting for him. 4% have crossed to Bawumia, and 2% said they were undecided. Those who went for someone else, those small parties who 7 are voting for Mahama, none for Bawumia, 7% for Alan. For those who did not vote, first-time voters here, Mahama is quite leading by a huge margin, 82%, Bawumia 8%. So unlike the northern region where Bawumia was doing well among this group of people, in Zongos is doing very, very bad.
Now, is that our last slide?
Yes, it will be probably our last slide. How likely would you change your mind about your voting intention? In the Zongos, how likely are you going to change your mind? For people who may be influenced by party manifestos and so on and so forth. Look, 43 plus 42, 85% of the people we interviewed said they are unlikely or very unlikely to change their mind about who they will vote for. Those who said they may or neutral, 6%. Only 9% said they are likely to change their mind. So this election, in the eyes of some people, is already gone.
They have decided. But we're going back, right?
Yes, we'll go back a certain period to test what the movement is, yes.
Okay. Well, let's leave it here briefly. Thank you for taking us through what you have done over the period. And definitely we will get back to you, right, once you are done with the updates.
Yes.
Just in case.
Yes.
So the update is going to come next week.
What we are getting...
Sorry, next year.
Next year will be the national tracking poll, covering all the 16 regions from 82 constituencies.
Oh, wow.
Post-primaries, where we know it is Bawumia, not Bawumia or Kennedy. In the October one, it was scenarios.
Yes.
This time, we know who they are.
Right. Mr. MUSSA DANKWAH, thank you. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. And that's the Executive Director for Global InfoAnalytics, Global Research. The head of Global Research. Hey. Okay, I'm now reading that. Mr. MUSSA DANKWAH, thank you. So let's take a breather. I'll be back shortly with some other information.